what time it is. It's time for another full album reaction. And with that, oh, I just kicked the wire. That wasn't good. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a lovely day. I'm not even centered. Let me like move. Well, I like being like right here. Like this is my spot. So that just means I have to move the table. Maybe no. I guess I could move over a little bit. But it's fine. It's fine. Let's go ahead and do a full album reaction to Ultravox. Let's go ahead and listen to their 1980 album Vienna. Now, before we go any further, a while back, and I do mean quite a while back, I had already listened to the title track Vienna, so that particular song will not be a first listen, but I'll give it a re-listen here in the context of the album as we go through it from tracks A to Z, or I should say tracks 1 through 9. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and just give it a listen. I had wanted to listen to some more Ultravox. You guys have been recommending them and asking for me to listen to more from them. So I just figured we would go ahead and listen to this album. While several albums from the band were recommended, I can only choose one at this exact moment. So that's why I chose this one. This was recommended. Hold on, let me pull up some names. James Adkison, David Emiri, Habitu Woo Woo, Steve, Mike Keel, Murdoch, Music Minute. I think honestly, the names keep on going from there. And like I said, there were a few different albums that were recommended from the band. I think Systems of Romance was another one, which has the original singer John Fox, which we did listen to a little bit back ago. But like I said, I can only choose one in this moment. Who knows? We'll probably listen to some of the others at any given point, but for right now, let's just go ahead and focus on this one. And I'm excited to get into it because I did enjoy Vienna, the title track, and it'll be fun to kind of listen to some more. That's kind of it. So hope that you guys are along for the ride. Thank you for sticking in here with me. And without further ado, let's go ahead and just begin it. The first track is entitled Astrodyne. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. We'll talk about it after. It's leading into the next track. Okay, what a fantastic opener. An instrumental extravaganza to get you into the world of Ultravox with Vienna. Just synthy goodness. It's a bop. Certified bop. Alright, how many bands out there have you heard that incorporate, you guys probably know like 1,000 of them, but how many bands have you heard that incorporate violin into their synth pop sound? And it sounds so tasteful, so perfect. It's a great marriage between the two. It's like finding out that you can mix chocolate with peanut butter. It just works, you know? Someone had to have thought about it, and I don't know who thought about it first with the context, but Ultravox, they put it down. I am loving what they did with that Billy Currie on the violin there. And by the way, everyone besides Warren Cann on the drums is handling synthesizers in some respect. Some of the synth in here is so thick and so well integrated, I can't tell if it's keyboard-based synth, violin, perhaps with a synth, pad or something, or a guitar. I don't know, but it all just works really well in this very colorful and vibrant melodical swirl. That's the best way I can explain what I just heard. I like how the band built up those themes in the beginning, gave a lot of space in the middle, and then brought it back to a really full and climactic return there on the end there. I thought that was really cool. There's no lyrics, obviously, to look into with the intro track, but I just think that that's a great, intro. Like, you hear that, what is it, 1980? Yep, 1980, and you have to think this is in some way the sound of the future. You have to hear that, and, it's just as synthy as what we've heard, for example, with Kraftwerk, but it's not as mechanical and robotic. Thinking about Two-Way Army, which we just listened to, even that has more of a dystopian feel. This just feels like pure Elysium. This feels like paradise. This is the good side of technology, so to speak. Technology benefiting humanity and how euphoric and, this beautiful new age, this new synth age. It's like a positive. I just think that that's really cool, the way that they kind of brought that all together. I really enjoyed that, especially as an opener. Like it's like a theme song before we get into the rest of the show. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the show. We're going to move on to the next track, which is New Europeans. I'm going to back it up and play just the last few clicks of the end of Astrodyne, because it sounded like it was kind of getting into it. So let me just back it up right about here, and let's go. This is so cool. Listen. We're on the second track. If the rest of the album hits anywhere near the same heights that we just heard of New Europeans, I'm going to be a very happy boy. Alright, I know I'm about to listen to the rest of the album here, but, like, tell me, that has to be, like, one of the best tracks of this album, the 80s. That is good. That impressed me a lot. I was already, like, really into it with Astrodyne. Like, I was into the intro and everything, but this raised the bar. This set the standard extremely high. I don't even know where to start. I like this kind of post-punk energy we have with the band, but of course, with the synth pop direction that they have, it comes together so well. Some of the synthesizer in here actually reminded me a little bit of like Stranglers with like Greenfield. For some reason, there's a certain kind of attitude in the way that it's played. I love I don't know, it might be synth, it might be guitar. I don't know, it all gets mixed up in there somewhere. I love that, I don't even know what you would call it, that phasing, warping, biomechanical kind of sound that's being played in like the chorus there. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It sounds like a machine dying. It sounds like a machine's death rattle. I don't know, it's very glitchy, but what a unique like thing to put into the music there. Singing is fantastic. Thoroughly catchy. You guys, I was trying not to sing it, but like albums like Europeans, that's really, really good. Drums are incredibly fun. Love the atmosphere they put down in the break. This has to be like, come on, this has to be like one of those tracks. This kind of organ synth that they brought in there as well. I like how in the very end they also bring in a heavier piano, and as soon as those heavy piano chords come in, the bass hits a newfound depth. Ooh. The first track had my curiosity, but now it has my attention. In a quiet street washed by the rain, the room within the home, a lonely man sits cheek to cheek with unique designs in chrome. The mellow years have long gone by, but now he sits alone. He has a brand new radio but never turns it on. New Europeans, young Europeans, new Europeans. A photograph of lovers lost lies pressed in magazines. Her eyes belong to 1,000 girls. She's the wife who's never seen. Their educated son has left in search of borrowed dreams. His television's in his bed. He's frozen to the screen. So is he just basically making fun of young people, the youth of Europe perhaps, and how they're, I guess you could apply it now, so into technology that they don't realize the things that are going on around him, or around them, as he mentions in the next verse here. On a crowded beach washed by the sun, he puts his headphones on. His modern world revolves around the synthesizer song, full of future thoughts and thrills. His senses slip away. He's a European legacy, a culture for today. Like, you're at the beach, there's a ton of people out, so it's a good beach day, and you're supposed to be enjoying, like, the sun, the sand, the water, the waves, but he's putting his headphones on, and he's just TikToking. Basically. Let me see if there's anything of interest or note about this song. Was this a single from the band? Because this blew me away a little bit. Let me just type in Europeans here on the Wikipedia article. It says this was one of the first tracks written for the album. Can wrote a bulk of the lyrics, including this one. New Europeans was used in a Japanese television commercial and released as a single in Japan. Okay, earning a gold disc. Okay, okay. So that, I guess it did get single status somewhere. And Japan is a perfect place because, like, oh, this could kind of have like a city pop kind of sound of, ooh, I get a little bit of it. I get a little bit of that. Let's go ahead and move on into the next track, which is going to be Private Lives. Like I said, it had my curiosity. Now Leo DiCaprio has my attention. Next track, Private Lives. Okay, so the album is clearly 3 for 3 right now. Okay, Private Lives starts off with a little bit of a false start with like this little piano, like it's building some sort of drama, some sort of ballad, and then just chocolate out of the air, hits you right in the face, and we're back into this just the straight synth pop, synth rock sound. I love the bass playing. That's gonna be crisscross on the bass. And he throws in a little bit of like a disco riff at the end of on the tail end of his bass playing. Like that escalation, it sounds very disco-y. I like that a lot. Once again, the progression in here is so cool too. Midge he's doing lead vocals here, right? Yes, he is. Okay. Midge I like his voice because it's kind of romantic. It's very poppy. It perfectly fits within the music, but still direct enough to be like rocky. You know, not like Rocky Balboa, but like rock and roll. Okay, I know that I'm going to be mislabeling stuff, and perhaps you guys have already corrected me in listening to this album so far. I'm not going to be able to tell the difference between the violin, the guitar, and the synth work that's happening, or a mix of all three, because the sounds are all coalescing together, and I can't quite pick up the difference. However, can we just say that the end of this track, when it comes back, the guitar becomes really crunchy. It's just crunchy riffing, like stepping on a bag of potato chips. And then all the synth slash violin slash other guitar that's happening on top of that is just beautiful because, yeah, you have that heavy riffing kind of underneath. That's very crunchy. And then on top of that, you have these lights just dancing in the wind that are just so beautiful. It adds this really cool contrast between like the light melodies, very colorful and airy, and then that heavy crunching underneath your feet that's going on. I just really like that sound. That was really great how they pulled that off there. Like, it sounds like there's at least 2 guitars playing in there, but it's their magic with everything that they're doing. It's the machine, it's the man. I couldn't tell you exactly what's going on in there, but there's some good stuff going on in there. That I can say. All the boys are wearing blue tonight. We'll thrive, we'll dive, how can we lose? All the strangers walk like you tonight. So tall we fall for every move. We'll laugh and talk, don't stop for breath. In these our private lives. We dance till dawn as they beat the drums for all our private lives. Close your eyes and use the melody. Who cares? Who stares under the light? See the shadow tailing me again. It shows, it glows in a crowd so bright. I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I'm just being honest. Like, I get they're going out. We'll thrive, we'll dive, how can we lose? We'll talk, we'll laugh, don't stop for breath, and these are private lives. We'll dance till dawn as they beat the drums for all our private lives. Like, I'm trying to understand because going out is public, but yet the song is titled Private Lives. They're talking about their private lives. Perhaps there's something on Wikipedia that we can find that will help us with this. But I don't see anything. Nope, that actually didn't do a thing for me. That didn't help at all. So, honestly, we'll just leave that one up in the air. Listen, sometimes I don't get something on a first listen, and that's when I'm not quite sure. Close your eyes and use the melody. Who cares? Who stares under the light? If you're under the light, you're exposed. So your privacy is not happening at that point. See the shadow tailing me. It shows, it glows in a crowd so bright. Like trying to get away, trying to have some sense of privacy, but never quite being able to get away. I'm probably missing it completely. And that's okay, because we're going to move on to the next track, which is Passing Strangers. Let's go.
Emotions holding too tight.
I love Midge's voice on this one. We kind of mentioned it before in the last track, but here, especially in that verse, kind of left alone. What's that popping sound? What is that? You guys hear that? Maybe it's just me. Here in the verse, he sounds so polished, so smooth, so confident in the music. Kind of, like I said, bringing that romantic, poppy sound into the music. And here, Passing Strangers, the idea of passing strangers, perhaps a brief connection made visually, mentally, in some capacity. I think he brings that hope and despair into the music as well. I really love that synth that's playing along the side in the verse because it's so it's kind of a haunting kind of sound. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That's the chorus. No. Here. That. I always do it so bad. That. Like that little sound on the side, it's incredibly ghostly. It's so light. It's just a little bit of something on the side. It's just a little something, but it adds so much of an atmosphere into the music. And of course, the way that it builds up in the chorus, because the chorus, it seems like it uses that same melody, but just with a slightly harder and heavier guitar. I think that's really, really good. And then this little echoing sound. I'm imagining that's probably maybe violent. I don't know, dude. This is cool though. I don't know. I really have no idea what's going on, and I'm sorry that I keep on saying that, but I don't know if that's just. I mean, it is synth, of course. But is it? It's not played really fast. It's just echo and reverb on it, or sequencer. I don't know. I like whatever it is though. That's the point. I may not know exactly what's happening, but I know that I'm enjoying whatever it is that is happening in the music, even if I have no idea what's happening. It looks like this was one of the singles from this album as well, released in October 1980. But let's go into the lyrics before we talk about that anymore. We were so young, we were too vain. Dance in the dark, sing in the rain. Time on our hands, hope in our hearts. We were talking, passing strangers. Moments caught across an empty room. Wasted whispers, faded secrets. Quickly passes, time goes by too soon. This is the missed connection section of Craigslist, basically. We stood alone, silent and proud, moments unknown, lost in a crowd. Running through memories like thieves in the night, clutching emotions, holding too tight. Hope turns to dust, shattered by light. You had a connection, could have been more than strangers, and yet that connection was missed. And then the chorus just repeats from there on. It was just a misconnection. Let's move on to the next track on the album, which is going to end this particular side of the album as well, and that is going to be Sleepwalk. Let me pull it up here, and let's go. I like how fast-paced this one is compared to the others. Sleepwalk isn't interesting for me because on a first listen, there's some parts I like and some I don't. I guess I can understand why this one would be one of the singles off of the album. It's a lot more straightforward. I really enjoy that synth bass sound. And then you have the whispery Sleepwalk, which I kind of like, I kind of don't. Let me explain. I didn't like it in the beginning. I did like it in the end. I think I liked it more in the end because the atmosphere, which from what I've noticed listening to Ultravox so far, they have an incredible way of building their atmosphere of their synths and then building that around a groove. Hold on, let me pull up everyone's names here again because I don't remember everybody. It's a first listen. Crisscross on the bass. All right. I love what him and whoever's doing those other synths, I love what's happening in the break of this track. When that atmosphere really goes into like a little bit of a downward spiral and it becomes a little bit darker. I love how the bass comes up, but the mood comes down. And then I actually wish that that went on a little bit longer, but that's okay. When it does return to its chorus, that Sleepwalk actually makes a little bit more, I guess for lack of a better word, contextual sense because of that little dark break that they had there. That was just such a small but powerful moment in the music. This. Doesn't that kind of sound like a synthesized cathedral? Like, because it sounds grand and choral in a way, but at the same time it's modernized, you know, with like synths and stuff instead of perhaps organ, even though it does retain that sort of grand spirituality, if you will. So the way that after that it returns to the sleepwalk, that part, with such fantastic drumming, by the way, I think that that makes it incredibly powerful. So I like that sleepwalk part in the end because of what came from it. Yeah. But not necessarily in the beginning because it just sounded kind of awkward, I guess, to me. The normal singing, when that came in, yeah, that's fine. But the sleepwalk part in the beginning, I was like, it's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't quite fit. But by the end, I was like, ah. So maybe if I was to listen to this song right now again, I would kind of catch, and maybe it does fit perfectly the whole way through. But on a first listen, it felt a lot better in that ending section there. I do like, once again, this, I'm assuming guitar solo. I just really like the melodies that they come up with, these themes, because as I mentioned, they have this way of creating this beautifully kind of haunting sound. Also, you hear that little haunting melody, that whatever that synth is, I don't know what it is, but whatever did it on the other song there, you also have it returning here, which I think is just great. Like, nice continuity. I really enjoy that. Oops, I almost played the song. Let me go back and we'll talk about the lyrics. Sleepwalk, sleepwalk, sleepwalk. Rolling and falling, I'm choking and calling name after name after name. Naked and bleeding, the streetlights stray by me, hurting my eyes with their glare. So is he actually sleepwalking? Is he having a little bit of a lucid dream? Who knows what's going on? Or is this a metaphor for something else? Helplessly breaking, exchanging my faces, destined we had to collide. Caught on the outside, I'm crumpling and crawling, watching the day drag away. Spiraling deeper, I can't feel my fingers grip around my throat as I dream, dream, dream. Maybe he feels like he's sleepwalking through life in a sense, or sleepwalking through some facet of his life. That could be relationships, that could be career, that could be, as he mentions, dreams. And dreams can be anything. So perhaps he feels like he's sleepwalking in his dreams. There's something in there. Looking at the Wikipedia page for this one, says Sleepwalk was the first song the band recorded with Midge Ure in February 1980. Rather than offering a demo tape of several songs to Chrysalis Records, the reformed band opted to do a finished version of Sleepwalk, a recording that clinched the band's record deal with Chrysalis Records. The original version was remixed later in 1980, blah, 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 for this album. There is no difference between the album version and the single version. So there you go. And the lyrics were written by Mr. Warren Cam. So there's a little tidbit of information. Let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, which is going to begin the second side of the album technically, and that is going to be Mr. X. Was Mr. X the bad guy in Mega Man 10 or Mega Man X? I think so. Wasn't it Mr. X? For the whole scripted loss in the beginning. I used to love that game when I was a kid. Let's go. Okay, before we let it move on into the next track, I have a question for you. I have a question on Mr. X. If you're still hanging out with me right now, thank you, first of all. Did you think, be honest, did you think that Mr. X went on too long? It was 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I want to hear from you first before I give you my thoughts. Did you think that Mr. X was a little bit too long in the duration part of the track? Let me know your thoughts. Give me a second to type while I go ahead and allow my thoughts to conjure themselves. So I think that this particular track with Mr. X, personally, it could have easily felt like it would have dragged. It could have easily felt like it was going on way too long. I can imagine that feeling inside of me. However, I have to be honest with you and tell you that I didn't think that it went on too long at all. It didn't drag. As a matter of fact, I was really enjoying everything they built in it. Because this track was like, it was like being served gumbo. Hear me out, hear me out. It was like being served gumbo every single day of the week. However, just like Bubba said, there are so many different ways to cook gumbo. There are so many different types of gumbo. What am I getting at? The bass and the drum, the rhythm section of the track, is the gumbo. It is the dish, right? That's solid. That is staying. And I really did enjoy that synth bass. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Like it's monotonous in a way because it doesn't change much, but that didn't bother me. And then the drums. It sounded like a drum machine, but I don't see a drum machine credited here, so well, I guess it does say electronic percussion, so there you go. That's the gumbo itself. But what are the different ways in which we are being served gumbo? You could have a shrimp gumbo on Monday, chicken gumbo on a Tuesday. You could have this kind of gumbo on a Wednesday, and so it goes on. And what are those different parts of the gumbo? That is all of the atmosphere that Ultravox is bringing into this track. There is tons of it. From the sedated like and narration vocals, searching for someone, searching for something, which adds a little bit of a layer of mystery to the track. There's also the eerie synths that are just everywhere here, including the violin. I mean, it's everywhere in here. At every corner and every turn throughout this track, there's a new sound that arises. There's some sort of abstraction that comes from left field and fills the air with some sound you're not quite sure what it is. And I think that is what makes this track not drag at all. Because what they did melodically is so interesting. All the different sounds that are running from left to right, right to left, and sometimes on top, occasionally on the bottom. They all have such unique identities, characteristics, and atmosphere that it brings to the track itself. So I love what they did with that. I can't even tell you exactly what, I can't tell you what sounds, or what instruments were making the sounds. Like, obviously the violin here, which it sounds like we have like overlapping and overdubbed violin. Some of it giving kind of a chamber quartet feel, and then you have the lead on top of that, maybe with a synth, not pad, but a synth pedal going along with it. I don't know. There's something, but like it's just such a unique atmosphere that I was enjoying just listening to it and allowing this room to change its walls in front of me. Like I'm in the same room, but you're changing the pictures on the walls. You're changing the colors of the walls in my surrounding. So while I'm in the same room, it's not the same room. I think that, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know, maybe it doesn't. The lyrics here, which by the way, I see that it's actually going to be Warren Cann who's doing the vocals here on this track, and apparently the track Here X. So let me the lyrics here, which I really love the depth of his voice. Perfect for a speaking role like this. I found the perfect picture of a perfect stranger. It looked as if it was taken in the 40s sometime, judging by the style. He could be a killer or a blind man with a cane. Perhaps he died in a car crash years ago. Right now, it's impossible to tell. I almost thought I saw him standing whistling on a bridge. I asked him the time, but when he turned around, I saw it wasn't him at all. I'm still searching. I saw him in an airport while he was sitting on a wing. And I waved to him, but I don't think he noticed me. I got a funny feeling I know who he is, Mr. X. So, this is like a mystery thriller. He has this photograph, and I don't know, because I don't see any information about this particular track, but I would just imagine that he actually, this is a true experience. He had this photograph. Well, maybe to an extent. Maybe he had this old photograph somewhere, somehow he came into possession of it. It's an old photograph. There's someone on the picture. And he's like, I wonder what this person's life story is. You know, there's no information about the person in the photograph, but you can just let your mind wander and come up with stories. It's kind of like people watching and you kind of wonder, like, what's this person's story? I think that's kind of the idea that he's getting. But it is interesting, the last verse. I saw him in an airport while he was sitting on a wing. Is this like the wing of a building, like the east wing of the airport kind of thing, which would make a little bit more sense? Or is this like he's hallucinating and he thinks he saw him sitting on the wing of an airplane? I don't know. There's a little bit of a creepy factor to it, which once again, the atmosphere and the music really, really nicely captures. Let's go ahead and move into the next track here, which is going to be Western Promise. Oh, let's let the last few seconds of Mr. X play. Right about there. That's fine.
Your childhood dreams and images. Your
That is so weird.
mystical beast.
Western Promise. Okay. Western Promise is probably, for lack of a better word, the weirdest track on the album that we've heard this far. I really like that intense violin-led theme. Wow, 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 wow. With the great drumming just pounding beneath. Ba, 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 da, ba, da, ba, ba. Like, that is really fantastic. I love that theme. But as we move from that, which is intense, adventurous, yet still fun, and very epic, it moves on to this just completely different maneuver. Not sure what's going on, but it's like, it's very heavier. Very heavier. It's a lot heavier than what we heard before. It sounds like broken. Is kind of the best way I can describe it. It kind of reminds me of King Crimson a little bit. Like, a little bit. Not a ton, but just to make some sort of comparison to it. Even the vocals are a lot more forthcoming. There's no polished edge to it. It's just kind of shouty. It really sounds distressful. And even the synths underneath sound like they're in distress. It sounds very alarming. And then the way that it cleans itself back up and goes back into the wow, 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 wow. It's a really cool contrast between the two because it shifts very quickly and on a dime from that dirty, glitchy, broken down kind of sound into, something much more recognizable, much more clean, which I want to say kind of relates itself to the lyrics a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Hi. Not like hi, but like hi. Like yes, Japanese. Oh, mystical East on old postcards, your childhood dreams and energies, your temples, gardens, old world charm, and ancient culture torn and scarred. This is my Western Promise. O mystical East, you've lost your way. Your rising sun shall rise again. My Western world gives out her hand, a victor's help to your fallen land. So, I think at first I was thinking imperialism, right? Like the West world, in some capacity, invading the Eastern world. Mentions the rising sun, so Japan in a way. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, however. A victor's help to your fallen land. Mystical East, all taxicabs, all ultra neon sign of the times. Your Buddha, Zen, and Christian man, all minions to Messiah Pepsi can. This is my Western Promise. So I think it's a different kind of imperialism. I think it's more of like a corporate, perhaps even culture imperialism, especially with the line all minions to Messiah Pepsi can. No matter who you are, what you follow or don't follow, or where you are, all are minions, all are servants and slaves to the almighty Pepsi can, to the almighty corporations, and you can really go further. Culture, like I said, like it can really go into so many different directions. But I think that's really interesting, especially with the music itself, how it seems good in some parts, and then it seems really murky and kind of falsified and false promises on other parts. Like there's scheming underneath it. So I think that's really cool how the music captures that with its two contrasting sounds, with that, like I said, that adventurous part, but also that kind of hurried, distressful, and alarming section as well. Works really well with a promise like this, a promise with fingers crossed behind your back, so to speak. Let's move on to the next track here, which, like I said, this is going to be the title track, Vienna. that we're going to listen to now. I've already heard it. We did a first listen on the channel, which if you'd like, you can go find. But we're going to listen to it again. I probably won't talk a ton about it, but I think that in the context of the album, it's important to go ahead and listen to it again. So let's go ahead and do it. Bye-bye.
Dark in the picture frame, so mystic and soulful. This means nothing to me.
Now that's an epic track that you could easily hear yourself hearing in a concert hall. And as soon as we get into the chorus, when he's yelling out, "Oh, Vienna," your goosebumps are just splitting up. That is a goosebump-inducing performance. Obviously, one of the band's more well-known songs, the title track of the album even, and how worthy it is to hold that crown and hold that title. One thing I really love is the emptiness of the verse. Of course, I love that. But right in the pre-chorus, before we get into the chorus there, I love how that synth chord slowly rises to the top. And it's like a little bit of a signal to that moment that's forthcoming. And it feels so exciting. Once you hear that, you know that it's coming, and it's going to be such a beautiful and glorious moment. A very beautiful break in the music there. And I think that that's a wonderful way that that's done. And then, of course, the piano that comes right on top of that, and especially after the first break there, it captures this very kind of classical feel. It's, once again, very romantic and very piano driven. The synths are still there, but providing more of a backing atmosphere, almost like I don't want to say an orchestra, but something akin to an orchestra. I just really liked how they do that. The break at the second half of the song, changing the tempo of it into something a little bit more adventurous and epic. Let me get there. Maybe right about over here. It's right about here, this way. And even this is kind of cool, especially with the way they get back to the chorus later. But even that's really cool the way they break that up. It gets into a closer synth pop direction, whereas the rest of this song kind of has something less of that. It kind of stands on its own, I guess, in the new romantic movement. I think that's what it's called, right? But regardless, I think that that's really cool. And of course, like I said, that return to the chorus after that particular section is incredible. Great violin solo, wonderful piano playing. I love that. That's really good. And the whole atmosphere of it all, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The lyrics. We walked in the cold air, freezing breath on a window pane, lying and waiting a man in the dark in a picture frame. So mystic and soulful, a voice reaching out in a piercing cry, it stays with you. Until the feeling is gone, only you and I, it means nothing to me. This means nothing to me, oh, Vienna. The music is weaving, haunting notes, pizzicato strings. The rhythm is calling. Alone in the night as the daylight brings a cool, empty silence, the warmth of your hand in a cold gray sky, it fades to the distance. The image is gone. Only you and I. And on Wikipedia, the lyrics, which are about a brief love affair in the city of Vienna, were quickly written by Midge Ure. It says here, I thought this was interesting, and I'm pretty sure we mentioned this before when I first reacted to the track, but just before we move on to the next track, it says, according to Curie, Ure was hesitant about the overly classical romantic feel of the orchestration and said, this means nothing to me, which the producer Connie Plank replied, well, sing that then. Ure said that he had only in his mind the line, the feeling is gone, this means nothing to me, oh Vienna, when he went into studio. And, I mean, obviously, it worked very, very well. Let's go ahead and move on in our album listen of Vienna to the final and last track here on the album as I scroll, and that will be All Stood Still. I hope that you guys have enjoyed listening to this alongside me, by the way. I've been trying to do a few more of the full album reactions and full album listens, and I just hope that you're having a good time. So simple. I just hope that you're having a good time listening to the music alongside me. So let's go ahead and move on to the last track off of Ultravox's Vienna, All Stood Still. Let's go. Let's go. That's not the right, that's it. Bit of a fun jam.
The turbine cracked up, the buildings froze up, the countdown stalled. Read out loud. We all stood still.
Ooh, okay. So we ended the album on a really interesting note with All Stood Still. Um, this is a very guitar-led track, very energetic. It doesn't feel like a closer to the album. It feels more like something you would hear in the middle on here. It just doesn't feel like closure, but it is the closure, the closure that we've been given. So there's nothing wrong with that. The placement just it's a little weird to me, but either way, it sounds good. So it's not the song. It's just it sounds like I want more afterwards. I like how guitar-driven this one is. I'm really enjoying all the different effects, and once again, I could be 1,000% wrong in that it's not just guitar. I'm sure that there's other synths and stuff going on, but Midger, who is pretty much handling the guitar on here, I'm really liking his little solos that he got in here. One of the solos kind of starts to glitch out a little bit, which I thought was really interesting. The chorus, which it seems I would assume has pretty much all the band members. We stood still, we all stood still, we're standing still. I thought that was really cool as well. This is a very riff-driven kind of sound. I don't want to say punkish, but it has a certain kind of direction to it as well. But this little transition, this happens right around here, right here. This little transition. I guess I didn't notice it right before, but that little synth bass line that's happening in the back, or that synth line, that sequence, or whatever it may be, it's starting to begin that rhythm, and I didn't catch it before, but then the guitar comes in. That's laid back reggae riff if I've ever heard one. That's exact. How interesting of a transition was that? I did not expect that, and the funny thing is the song didn't change that much. It was literally just that riff and the way that it came up, of course, the notes. But just the way that that's being played, one additional element, all of a sudden it gave it a reggae feel. That was really interesting. That was cool. I like that transition a lot, though. The lights went out. The last fuse blew. The clocks all stopped. It can't be true. The program's wrong. What can we do? The printout's blocked. It relied on you. The turbine cracked up. The buildings froze up. The system choked up. What can we do? Please remember to mention me in the tapes you leave behind. So, at first I was thinking like, a plane crash, Blood Rock BOA, basically the black box being left so that, you can leave a message of some sort. You can find out what happened to the plane. But I think it's about a few different things that are ending, basically. And everything kind of stood still, basically. What happens when things stop working in certain sectors? Well, a lot of bad things happen. The screen shut down, there's no reply. The lifts all fall, a siren cries. And the radar fades, a pilot sighs, as the countdown stall, the readout lies. Then he repeats that part again. The black box failed, the codes got crossed, and the jails decayed, the keys got lost. Everyone kissed, we breathed exhaust, in the new arcade of the Holocaust. So this could be directly and only about basically a plane crash and losing hope because it's going down. It could be on a grander scale about society slowly crumbling, perhaps. But the chorus, we stood still, we all stood still stood still, we're standing still. And I think that, does the ending change it? No, it doesn't. Okay, I thought the ending changed the lines a little bit to make it a different meaning, but it didn't. So, in the end, when I guess things are going wrong, and they're catastrophic failures like that, you really don't have a choice but to just stand still and I guess kind of let things happen. What a downer of an ending! It's a bit of a downer of an ending here on the album. That's interesting. That's different. That's how it ends, huh? Well, it just doesn't feel like a closing track, and yet I suppose thematically it is kind of an ending. Thank you guys so much for being here, for listening to the music alongside me. I hope that you, like I mentioned before, I really hope that you enjoyed listening to the music alongside me. I hope that you listened and enjoyed listening to the whole album alongside me, whether you listen to the abbreviated version here on YouTube or the full version over on here on Patreon. No matter what, hope you listened. Hope you had a good time hanging out. I appreciate you for hanging out, whether it's late at night and you know you should be sleeping, but you wanted to just watch one more video, or whether it's early morning and you're just starting your day, or you're somewhere in between. I really appreciate you guys just watching. If you don't mind, I would appreciate if you liked the video before you leave. At the very least, like, just press the like button. That helps me a great deal. Of course, you can follow me on a few places on Twitter. Sometimes I post randomness. You can follow me on Patreon and support the channel on Patreon as well for as little as $2 a month. And that's kind of it, really. So thank you guys for being here. Let me know your thoughts on the album, and I'll see you next time. Bye.